program. The motion by Councillor Rowena Santos and backed by all councillors comes a week after Premier Doug Ford announced plans for legislation to remove more than 700 municipal speed cameras operating in 40 municipalities. Santos stated that the speed camera program reduces speeding, prevents collisions, and protected the most vulnerable residents. Now, for more, we are joined by Brampton City Councillor Rowena Santos. Thanks for joining us here live on CP24. So, we hear that the one particular camera on Parkside in Toronto brings in almost $7 million. So what are some of the dollar figures that you know about for some of the speed cameras in Brampton? How much are they pulling in?
Well, the speed cameras in Brampton are working, and staff presented a report on September the 10th that actually demonstrates that. What I will say is that the average speed that someone gets a ticket in the city of Brampton is actually 15.7 kilometers an hour. And that because of that, we know that the threshold is actually quite reasonable when it comes to our speed camera program in Brampton. And our program in Brampton is based on best practices versus other municipalities who might have implemented it a bit incorrectly. And so what we're saying is that speed cameras in Brampton, they do work, that they do protect the most vulnerable, specifically our children when they're going to school. And many residents do agree that, in fact, speed cameras, especially in Brampton, given the way that we've implemented it, needs to remain in our school areas. So at the very least, we need to make sure they're in our schools to make sure our children are safe and, that we're avoiding collisions. Brampton, if I could talk about costs, Brampton has the highest insurance rates, auto insurance rates that our residents have been complaining about for a while. What we have been doing has been using all the tools, including the one that was presented by the province in our toolbox, in order to reduce the number of collisions, prevent accidents, and actually be proactive about it. Our data and evidence, not just here in Brampton, but also regionally, nationally, and around the world, demonstrates that speed cameras are a public safety tool that saves lives.
Maybe it could be worse because they're there, but I work here 5 days a week, and it seems like every day there is a violent crash in Brampton, either single vehicle, like severely violent. And I don't know whether it's the speed limits. Like in some places near homes, I'm seeing, speed limits at 70 kilometers an hour, and you have 3-4 lane roads, and these aren't even highways. Is there anything else that could be done as well? Because, we're getting updates every day from Peel Police saying, fatal crash or like disaster of a crash in Brampton. So what else could be done? Because it seems like you're saying they're working, but I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's showing up.
Well, right now, the majority of our speed cameras are, in fact, located in school zones. So we have 185 speed cameras that are currently up, and they're working very well. We have 183 schools across the city of Brampton, and 135 of our cameras are actually located in school zones. To your point, Phil, some of those cameras are located in areas where speeding is absolutely horrendous. And as we are trying to deal with traffic calming, ASE cameras are proven in Brampton to slow cars down. Residents notice it very much so. They tell me all the time they're noticing the cars slowing down. But we've also implemented other things. Like we have implemented almost 900 locations for speed bumps. We have a lot of signage. We have stop signs. We have police who are doing patrols. We're doing everything we can in order to reduce collisions and slow down our cars. It's one of the biggest complaints, speeding, in the city of Brampton. And I know that folks like to talk about, well, what about the driver? You know what? When I wake up in the morning, Phil, I don't identify as a driver. I identify as a parent, as a mother who has a child and nieces who I want to get to school safely. And at the end of the day, cameras work, especially in school zones, and we in Brampton are making accommodations to address the province's concerns in order so that we can use this as an ongoing public safety tool.
Now, we've reached out to the province to get a reaction to this because we saw, obviously, Vaughan, they're scrapping that program. Has the city of Brampton heard from the Premier's office or the Ministry of Transportation?
Well, that's the thing, Phil. So, this was provincial legislation in 2019 that actually enabled municipalities to use this incredible technology to keep our roads safe. They're the ones who wrote the legislation on the fines, the signage, the locations. And based on that signal in 2019, municipalities like Brampton, Vaughan, Mississauga, Burlington, Ottawa, Toronto, we invested in the technology because the province said that this was a good tool to use. Now, the consistencies across the municipalities are different. So, for example, in Brampton, we have a threshold, and that threshold is 11 kilometers and over. If you're 11 kilometers and over, you're going a bit too fast in a school zone and you're going to get a ticket. Now, in Vaughan, I don't believe they actually implemented thresholds. So I think what we need to do is have a conversation before they ban it and throw the baby out with the bathwater, have a conversation about the best practices that municipalities like Brampton are using to keep our streets safe, at the very least keep them in our schools, and look at other accommodations like non-peak hours. I hear from residents who are like, you don't need to ticket me if I'm driving 51 kilometers at 10 o'clock at night, but they do want us to catch excessive speeding and stunt drivers. So on non-peak hours, let's just enforce those vehicles who are stunt driving through local roads.
Yeah. It's a very wide web of just issues with the roads and safety, and I totally get it. As a dad and uncle and all that, you want everyone to get to and from school safely. I guess it's the beginning step there in Brampton. Rowena, Santos, thanks so much. I do appreciate the time.
Thanks so much, Phil.
Of course. It is 8:15, 14 degrees. You're watching Charles Breaking News, CP24.